everyone. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Miss Olivia and I am one of your children's librarians from the Cape May County Library. Today we are going to be talking all about sensory activities for babies, for toddlers, for kids, all the way up to grown-ups. They are fun and educational for everyone. And most of the activities we're doing today will be made from materials that usually you can find around the house, or you can always substitute for other things. They're super simple and super fun. But not only are sensory activities really fun and interesting, but they are also really, really good for building babies and toddlers and kids and adults' brains. They help children to explore and investigate the world around them. They even help build connections in your brain. They are really good for developing fine motor skills. You'll see a lot of that today with different things that we'll do with our activities. They're also very inclusive. There is no right or wrong way to have fun with a sensory activity. And you'll see that especially today. You can do exactly what I did. You can do the total opposite of what I did. You can take bits and pieces of what I did and totally make it your own. It encourages scientific thinking and problem solving. We'll see that with some of the water that we play with today and some of our art projects. And they usually involve mindful activities, which are really good and incredibly beneficial for all children. So we were going to get started with our water sensory projects. One last thing before we start our activities. Sometimes sensory activities and art get a little messy, and that's okay. So to help myself later on, I have set up a towel so that it's easier to clean my mess when I'm finished playing with it. You can also set up a tarp. You could also do any of these activities outside as well. Our first activity is a super simple one. What I have with me right now is 2 Tupperwares. One has water in it and one does not. You of course do not need to use these types of tubs. You can use other types of Tupperware. You can use beach buckets. I would just strongly recommend using plastic or something that won't break. We don't want anyone to get hurt or any giant uncontainable messes to happen. So with our water activities, we will especially be working on fine motor skills, hand-eye coordination. We'll be doing things like pouring and scrubbing and stirring, squeezing, transferring, those sorts of things. So to begin, I am going to use liquid watercolor to make our water look a little more interesting. If you don't have liquid watercolor, don't worry about it. You can use food coloring if you like, or you can just leave the water the way it is. With liquid watercolor, which we ordered through Amazon, I think you can also get it from Michael's, from Walmart, places like that. You only need a few drops to get a very, very potent color. And the great thing about liquid watercolor is it is very washable. Believe me, I have been on the receiving end of liquid watercolor more times than I'd like to admit. And then we can stir our liquid watercolor around and it becomes a nice purple color. Some other fun things we can do with water is add things like pom-poms. Pom-poms usually float, sometimes they sink. Once they get really full of water, we'll take this one here. You can squeeze a ton of water out of it, which is again great for those fine motor skills. I also sometimes like to add in things like, these are just some old flowers from different leis that we had. You can add in things like foam, because foam floats. And you can of course add in the ever favorite rubber duckies. See if they float around in here. And it's always good to have things like spoons, things like that on hand. And you can try things like transferring water. You can transfer some of the flowers over. You can even scoop over a rubber duck into a new bucket. Our next water activity is another very simple and very fun one. So with me this time, I have just one bucket filled about midway through with water. I also have with me some small cups that I cut holes in the bottom. I like to use these cups and water to do a fun weather activity. So I'll take my cups, again, that have holes in the bottom, and I will scoop some water, and we can see the water come out the bottom of the cups, just like it's a rainstorm. It is a fun way to talk to your kids about weather and ask questions like, why does the water come out slower? When does it come out faster? What happens if the holes are bigger? What happens if they're smaller? Fun things like that. Another thing that we can do with water is have a washing station. So I'm going to now add in just some dish soap so that we can get a nice bubble bath going here. And then I will stir it around. And I have with me here some farm animals. And it is going to be bath time for our animals, so we'll put them here in their tub. And we'll grab some sponges. We'll dip them in the water. And we can see now some soap that's starting to form. And we can give our animals a bubble bath. You can also do this activity with cars and have a car wash. The possibilities are endless. I am very excited about our next activity. We have made today moon sand. There's only 2 ingredients to moon sand, and that is 8 cups of flour along with 1 cup of baby oil. Moon sand is fun for measuring with. You can get out different measuring cups. You can also get out beach toys, spoons, things like that. It is a very fun texture. It is fun to play with. It also keeps for as long as it is in a sealed container, like a Ziploc baggie, or a container like this with a closed lid. You can also add food coloring to your moon sand to jazz it up even more. You can also hide things in it and make it like a treasure hunt or scavenger hunt. All sorts of fun things that you can do with moon sand. Now we are going to get started with our sensory art projects. These are totally self-guided. Again, there's no right or wrong way to do any of these. So we'll start with one of my favorite projects ever. These I just call paint bags. They are really good for the very, very young ones. And we start with just taking a piece of paper. I use cardstock just because it holds up a little bit better. And we'll put it in a sealable plastic baggie. And then we will take a couple colors of paint. You can use 1, 2, as many as you like. We'll squirt it right inside on our paper. And next we'll seal our bag. And depending on how old your little one is, you might want to also tape the bag shut to prevent any further messes. I have found this has worked particularly well with babies and toddlers. So once our bag is ready, you can start squishing the paint around. You can mix the colors together just like so. One thing I like to do when the paint is all smushed around is to try and write letters, try and write numbers, or even try to draw a picture with your finger. When you are finished with your art, you can leave it for just a couple days, and once it is all dry, it will dry, I promise, you can untape it if you taped it, or simply unzip it, and you'll have a fun piece of abstract art to display at your leisure. And our last project for today is probably my favorite. I have, once again, a piece of cardstock, and I'm gonna take some paint and just drizzle it right here on my paper. And then I'm going to take my cars. I have 2 cars here with me today, and I'm going to drive them through the paint. Just like so. And you can see my car's got a fresh new paint job, but I also made this awesome piece of art right here. It's super messy, but it is super fun, and it's an experience of experimentation for kids. It asks the question, if we can paint with cars instead of a brush, what else can we paint with? It also cultivates an environment for your child to think creatively about their art, and by extension, the world around them. And of course, it makes a really, really cool and unique piece of art. Thank you guys so much for watching today. I hope you are able to have fun with some different sensory activities or make some new creative sensory art. We would love to see what you come up with and what you make. Thank you again so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.